All right, Jared Sandler here chatting with Noah Shelby, senior at Greenhill, one of the premier shooters in the country, getting ready to head off to Vanderbilt in the fall. But right now, just kicking some butt, enjoying his senior year of high school. Noah, I guess, first of all, let's turn the clock all the way back. What do you remember? I always ask people this. What do you remember about your childhood? What do you remember about growing up? You can answer it however you'd like, but what are the things that stand out the most?
I would just say, as far as basketball, just from a young age, my dad had me working on my shooting ability from when I first touched the basketball, doing spot shooting. So I think that's the first thing that comes to mind as far as my development as a basketball player. Also off the court, a lot of close relationships that I still have today from elementary school, with AAU basketball. That's about it.
Where'd you go to elementary school?
I went from kindergarten to 8th grade. I went to Prestonwood Christian.
Yep.
And then my freshman sophomore year, I went to St. Mark's.
And then you switched over to the good side of that equation, right? Went to Greenhill.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, your dad started working with you at a young age. How old were you? When do you remember really starting to play basketball?
I think I started when I was like around 3 or 4. And I got serious about it as far as my shooting ability, just working on spot shooting and stuff when I was about 5 or 6. So kindergarten, first grade.
So I was going to ask how you became the shooter that you are. So from a young age, just doing a lot of drill work, not necessarily burying your head into the iPad or whatever, but going out and shooting. What were some of those workouts like that your dad would maybe put you through when you were a lot younger? Were they really tough, or was it still just a bunch of fun? What do you recall about that?
It was everything was really close to the basket. And I remember I didn't really like it because I used to go to the gym and I wanted to just run around and chug up shots. But he always made me like lock in and just shoot close shots. And I didn't like that. But now looking back on it, it helped me a lot. But at the time, I didn't really like it.
What is your best strength as a shooter? Like what makes you, other than just the practice and the hard work, but what is it about you as a shooter that you think makes you so special?
I would say confidence for sure, just because I've worked on it for so long. So I feel like every shot I take is going to go in, no matter how heavily guarded it is or how deep it is. I feel like every shot I take is going to go in. And if I miss one, I know the next one's going to go in. So confidence is important for me.
So one of the things, I'm about, 10, 12 years older than you. And I've enjoyed the heck out of this era of basketball here recently where, not only are people shooting it more from the perimeter, but, it used to be if you were going to take a 3, you better be right up the line. Now you got guys like Steph Curry who have really changed the game and taking threes 3, 5, 7 feet beyond the line, and it's opened things up. How much has that era of basketball influenced you and just the decision making and what you feel like you're capable of doing and comfortable doing on the court?
I think it's changed a lot for the better, especially for me because I'm about 6'2". So guys like about my size, like Trae Young and Steph Curry and Damian Lillard, all those guys are on my size and they shoot the ball extremely well from 3. So everybody sees that and people become more accustomed to that style of play, like guards shooting from deep. So it really gives you a purpose to really work on that shot because then the game is going that direction.
You just mentioned some great shooters, but who are the shooters you most look up to, or if it's just that group you mentioned, who's the one guy that you look up to the most?
I think the one guy I look up to the most is probably Trae and Steph. I've gotten to know Trae pretty well, so that also has something to do with it. But seeing those guys put up big numbers in the league as around my size, not 6'5", 6'6", 6'2" guards, that's really inspiring.
If you just got to know him through the AAU circuit, how did that relationship start?
It started back when I was in around middle school, I think, because when Trey was in high school, him and my dad were pretty close, and my dad and his dad are really close. And I also played with his summer ball team last summer, for my last summer, and I enjoyed that a lot. He got to see some of our games, so I think that's how our relationship really started.
Well, other than just, hey, it's cool to be able to talk with a guy who's accomplished what he's accomplished, but like as far as your growth, how has he helped? What are some of the things that he's shared with you that have allowed you to take steps forward, either as a basketball player or just as a person?
When I worked out with him about a year or so ago, he told me to always be locked in, and I really kept that close to my chest recently, just knowing to always be locked in and ready to play. And also just watching him play, watching film on him, and taking some of the stuff that he does into implementing into my game too.
I found that shooters, and not that you're just a shooter, but guys like you who are elite shooters, they can be quirky. They may be superstitious, whether it's their warm-up routine or just something. Do you have any quirks that's related to your shooting? Anything that any habits, any superstitions that you've developed over the years?
I think the one thing is when I'm warming up or working out, I always try to switch everything. So when I before the game, when I'm switching shots, I know it's going to be a good game because I want to switch all of my shots at warm-ups. So that's something I keep track of.
What so I mean, I obviously wasn't the player that you were, but like I always felt like I had to get nervous if in pregame warmups, like I just didn't feel right. I'd think, gosh, like this is going to be bad, and then it would just turn around. Like whatever. For me, that's scoring like 12, 14 points. That's not like 40 to 45 points. But like when you have a bad pregame, what do you do to try? Do you just have to throw it aside? Do you even like worry about it? Like what do you do if you don't have a great pregame and you're hitting a lot of rim or you're just not even making shots?
For me, a lot of my best shooting games as a player in my career have come after bad warmups, which is something.
I feel like that's always the case, right?
Yeah, I've had multiple games where I would make every shot in warmups and not make anything in the game, and then there'll be games where I miss everything in the warmups and I make everything. So I usually don't put too much mind into it, but usually if I'm missing shots but I'm warm and in the sweat, then I'm not worried about it. So as long as I'm warm, I think the shots in the game will be good.
All right, I was talking with your teammate, your roommate, your friend Lee Dort earlier, and we're going to get into your relationship with him and the impact you guys have had on one another. But he said something really troubling, that you're not a big LeBron guy. Why are you not a big LeBron guy?
I don't. It's not that I don't like LeBron, but I don't like LeBron's like fan. Like Lee's a huge LeBron fan. He always, every time LeBron does something, no, LeBron did this, LeBron did that. So I'm a KD fan, and since KD and LeBron are like not rivals, but they're usually on the opposite sides, I usually go for KD. So I kind of just happened like that.
So I used to think like, man, it'd be great to be 6'2" and play basketball. For you, do you think, man, like what if I was like 6'10", 6'11", just able to let it rip like KD? I mean, it's pretty incredible at his size, what he's been able to do and for how long he's been able to do it.
Yeah, and he's changed the game for wings too, just like Steph's changed the game for guards. He's changed the game for wings. Like guys are like 6'8", 6'9", learning how to dribble the ball because they know how dangerous that is. When you're that tall and can dribble and shoot.
I remember when he wasn't even a freshman at Texas, and he was on the cover. I think it was like right before, it must have been the season preview edition of ESPN the magazine or Sports Illustrated, one of those sports magazines. And it was the headline was something along the lines of like 7-footer who's going to change the game. And I was like, I remember staring at the cover thinking, there's no way that this guy's 7 feet and can do all these things that they say that he can do. Like this can't be real. And lo and behold, it's incredible. It's fun having these debates, like who's better, this or that. Like, I think what's probably can't be debated, and this is no disrespect, like MJ and Magic and Bird in that era, but the ability to watch Steph and Durant and LeBron and Harden and Kyrie. I mean, these guys, like this era of basketball, it's really remarkable. And like you said, we're seeing guys at sizes and levels of athleticism do things that we never used to see before. I mean, it really is incredible.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So Katie's your favorite player. Who's your favorite team? You grew up here. You a Mavs fan?
I'm a Mavs fan, but I'm not a diehard, but I go for the Mavericks. but I'm not like a diehard Mavericks fan. I guess right now I'm a Nets fan, just that's where KD is.
Yeah.
So wherever KD goes, I was a Thunder fan, a Warriors fan. So wherever KD goes, I'm gonna be a fan of that team.
So we're having this conversation on January the 3rd. On the 5th, the Mavs are retiring Dirk's jersey. For guys like me, like Dirk is, he's my favorite player of all time. Do you have any Dirk memories? Do you remember? I mean, I guess you were pretty young when the Mavs won the title, but what are your thoughts on Dirk, and what do you remember about watching him play?
I remember him winning the championship against that super team, the Heat, and at that time I was going for the Mavericks. I didn't like LeBron, so I liked how, and that Dirk has that. There's not very many players that have unguardable moves, and Dirk has that unguardable post fadeaway off the one leg. There's probably like 6 or 7 players unstoppable moves, so that puts him in an elite company, and he's one of the greatest players to ever do it.
No, it seems like they're athletes who are really good at a sport, and they might like that sport, but they're not like students of that sport. It seems like you follow basketball, you're a student of basketball, you know what's going on. I know you mentioned earlier you started playing at a young age. When did you fall in love with like the sport of basketball and following the NBA and following college basketball and becoming a student of the game?
I think I became a true student of the game probably during my sophomore year after the season ended and when COVID started happening. That's when I started becoming more of a student, watching film. I think that was one of the most productive summers of my basketball career, that summer of COVID, that 2020 summer.
I want to talk about a couple of guys and the impact that they've had on you. You mentioned this already, but your father, Derek, who I know has been so instrumental just in the sport of basketball, helping so many people outside of his family, but obviously he's had an influence on you. What has that relationship been like, and how has he impacted you?
Yeah, we're really, really, really tight. He's helped me with everything from basketball to off the court to school, everything. But on basketball, he's been my coach for a long time. So I've had him as just a dad on the sideline and a head coach and assistant coach. So I think he's impacted a lot of people's lives, especially mine. I think as a coach, he's helped me get a lot better with my game as far as teaching me how to shoot. Everything I know about shooting, I got from him. And watching film together. So we have a really close relationship.
What about just impacting you in life? Obviously, the role of dad is far bigger than the role of a basketball coach in the grand scheme of things. What are some of the things when if someone were to spend a couple of days with you, they'd say that, hey, Noah's just like his dad in what ways, just from as a person?
I would say me and him have a similar sense of humor, and we both work hard and we both put others first. So I think the first thing people will say about me and my dad is, but outside of people starting to say we look alike, but I say the sense of humor is the first thing.
Do you remember the first time you beat him playing one-on-one or in a shooting game or anything?
First time I beat him one-on-one, I believe it was 8th grade, 8th or 7th grade. It was middle school. Before that, I could never beat him because I wasn't strong enough. But I started getting stronger. So now it's easy. But at that time, it was hard.
Can he still shoot though?
Yes, he can still shoot really well.
Okay,
He's not as good as he was about a couple of years ago because his knees are out, but he can still shoot the ball.
So you guys can play some shooting games and maybe he can give you a run for your money, or he can't touch you there?
He can give me a run for my money, but I would win still.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That relationship when my oldest brother, Darren, who coaches and teaches at Greenhill, and he's not my dad, but he's 13 years older. And he coached me when I was really young. And I learned so much from him, but I mean, we would go at it. It's my brother. And so I felt like at times he was, being especially hard on me. And because he was my brother, I didn't feel like I had to hold back maybe the way I would respectfully to, a coach who wasn't related to me. You and your dad ever have to work through stuff like that, or has it just been a really smooth relationship with him as your coach from a young age?
I would say at the very beginning, it was rough when I was like a little kid because he was hard on me and I didn't really understand that when I was like 5 or 6, 7, 8. But I think as time has gone on, I've grown out of that, and it's been a lot easier. Uh, I think the more mature I've gotten, the easier it's been able to take criticism and apply it. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
You mentioned strength. I know, obviously when you're in 7th, 8th grade, you're naturally just going to get stronger from growing. But I'm curious, as far as your development as a player, what's the thing that you've developed in your game that's allowed you to take the next step to achieve the recognition and the results that you've been able to achieve here over the last couple of years?
The biggest thing for my development, I guess, was probably just a chip on my shoulder that I didn't always have. I think in middle school, I never had that. I think I didn't really get a chip on my shoulder until my sophomore year. Ever since then, it's really been easier for me to go and work and work and work and become better. Always trying to prove people wrong, prove people wrong.
What caused that? Why do you feel like that chip developed when it did?
I think it was just because I felt disrespected about people didn't think I was very good, or when I started to get scholarship offers as a freshman, people thought they were fake or I didn't really deserve them. So hearing all the outside noise and really just putting my head down and working, I think that's what benefited me a lot.
So when you see then these articles or whatever that, that either just mention the reality, hey, you're going to go play SEC basketball at Vanderbilt or something that says Noah Shelby, best, high school shooter in the country, or something that maybe supports all of that hard work. What are the things that you think about and whether it's, thinking towards the future, or just like take a step back and man, like, it's really cool that I've gotten to this point.
I think just when I first committed in last April, it really kind of hit me that I was like, I'm really have a chance to do this at a high major level, and then signing a couple months ago. Mm-hmm. So I think just all that hard work paying off and being able to play at the next level is really a blessing. But I also have to keep it in perspective. Like, it's only one step towards where I want to be. So just keep working, don't ever stop working.
All right. We talked about the impact of your dad. You have I imagine, a really unique relationship with your classmate who in some ways probably feels like a brother, and Lee, who came over to America. He's lived with you. You guys are going to be going to Vanderbilt together. How would you describe your relationship with Lee?
I'd say we're really tight just because we've worked ever since my freshman year. He's been here. So that's a really big growing process, that 14, 18 range. So we'll be able to go through that together. And also, like, we play video games a lot off the court. So we're all nice to each other, everything like that. And on the court, we know where we want to be on the court. So we played together for 4 years now, almost. So we know each other's tendencies. So it makes everything easy.
I don't think he's the only one who lives with you now. I believe your classmate and teammate Francis lives as well. He's a few years younger. But was Lee the first person to come and live with you the way that he has, and kind of be a fraternity brother in a sense?
No, when I was about 5th, 6th grade, we had the Jerry Baptiste, who graduated from Vanderbilt. He lived in our house too, and then Schneider Harrington with the Mississippi State. They're here together too, so they were like big brothers for me when I was about 5th or 6th grade. So I got to learn from them also. Yeah.
So tell me more about that relationship and getting the opportunity to have those guys in the house, and how you benefited from that. I mean, obviously you just mentioned you got to learn from them, but if you could elaborate on, I mean, that's not many guys get the opportunity to, you're chasing after this dream, and to have a couple older role models, if you will, on top of your dad, who they're kind of a few years ahead of you in that pursuit. So that must have been really impactful.
It was very impactful because I got to see how they worked and how much they loved the game. So seeing them at a young age, I looked up to them a lot, seeing how they were working and seeing that they're accomplishing the goal I wanted to play in college. So they're accomplishing the goal that I wanted to accomplish. So having them as mentors, and I can always talk to them still. So our relationship is still really tight. So it's great.
And with Lee, was there any adjustment? I mean, so it's one thing that there are a couple guys who are older you look up to. And this is a guy now who's, same age. You guys are going after the same things. How has your relationship developed? Was it, for lack of a better phrase, love at first sight? You guys were boys from the beginning, or were there some growing pains and you really had to work to get to the point where you guys are now?
I would say our relationship has been good from the beginning. We really haven't had any growing pains, but I would say, I mean, we're not perfect, so of course we argue sometimes. But I think for the most part, we've been really tight for a long time. It kind of was easy because we're both really laid back guys, so we know. I mean, it's not really hard to get to know each other. So
I imagine Lee's learned a ton from you, being that he is not from here, right? Just simple things like learning the language and whatever ways of life that he wasn't accustomed to. What have you learned from him? What are the things that you've learned from him and his experiences and who he is as a person?
I would say the one thing I learned from him a lot is just the discipline. He's a really disciplined person. He's really like he knows what he wants to do at this time. So time management is something he's really good at. So it helps me a lot with school because he always knows like, no, yeah, this. So we help each other out a lot with that stuff.
You've got to, the team at Greenhill is, you guys have a lot of talented players on that team. I know in the AAU circuit, that's just loaded with talent. Who are some of the best players you've gotten to play with and maybe some of the best players you've gotten to play against?
Some of the best players I've gotten to play with, the first one that comes to mind is Rylan Griffin from Richardson. He's going to Bama. We've known each other since we were about 3 or 4 years old, so we're really tight. And Keontae George also going to Baylor. I played with him for about 4 years. Jordan Walsh, I played with him for about 3 or 4 years. He's going to Arkansas. Colin Smith going to Vanderbilt with me and Lee. I played with him for a couple of years at St. Mark's and with Drive Nation. And toughest players I played against RJ Hampton my freshman year when he was a little limb. That was a tough matchup for me as a freshman. And also Jalen Green my sophomore year. We played him at the American Airlines Center with St. Mark's when he was at Prolific Prep. So those are the 2 best players I played against in high school.
You mentioned Trey Young. Have you gotten a chance to, in addition to maybe Trey, work out with some guys who have accomplished a lot, off-season workouts for them, not necessarily playing in actual games, but just the chance to work out with any guys like that?
Yeah, I got to work when I worked out with Trey. I also worked out with Kyrie when he was here in Dallas. That was a joint workout. So winning from him was a very good experience for me because he's a different type of guy. He has this, people like to say stuff about him, about how he's weird and this and that, but he's really disciplined person, really student of the game. Like he's the biggest student of the game I've ever met. So he got to teach me some things about stuff that I usually don't think about on the court. So it was great.
Okay, so Prestonwood, St. Mark's, Greenhill, those 3 really good schools. And like you, I actually went to St. Mark's before I went to Greenhill. So I've experienced St. Mark's. It's that's obviously a really impressive school. But I'm curious, what has it been about Greenhill that's fit for you, and what is, I guess, Greenhill meant to you in a short time?
I like Greenhill a lot just because of the community. Everybody's really tight with each other, and everybody knows everybody, as well as the alumni. Everybody's involved in the athletics and the academics. I think St. Mark's and Greenhill are similar in that sense. But I like Greenhill a little bit more just because of the community, and everybody's a lot tighter.
What are some of your favorite things to do other than hoop? I know that, that takes up a lot of the time, obviously, but when you do get some free time, what are some of your favorite things to do? I hear you and Lee will get after it on the sticks playing some 2K, but so what are some of the things you like to fill your time with?
Video games is the one thing I play. I play a lot of video games. I play Call of Duty, Madden, 2K, everything, Fortnite, and I also like to hang out with some of my teammates. Rylan, I'm hanging out with Rylan a lot. We watch college basketball, NBA stuff together. So I think those 2 things are the biggest things I do off the court.
So who's your, do you play with the Nets a lot when you play 2K, or do you just mix it up?
I usually use the Suns because I feel like the
Okay.
Nets is kind of cheating. Using the Nets are really, I mean, they're kind of overpowered. But I use the Suns and I use the 12-13 Thunder with Harden, Westbrook,
Okay.
and KD.
Yeah. What about Madden? Who do you like to roll with in Madden?
Madden, I use the Rams or the Panthers. I like the Panthers aren't very good in real life, but in Madden, I kind of know how to use them. And then the Rams because they have a really good defense.
Is it updated rosters? Like, is Cam your quarterback? Who's your quarterback with the Panthers?
I have Sam Darnold and Cam, but I
Okay.
usually use Darnold. Just as a better passer in the game.
Got it. All right. So a few fun ones here before we wrap up. Actually, one last thing before we get to the fun ones. I asked Lee about this. I want to ask you the recruiting process. I'm sure for Lee it was different. I don't know that Lee grew up dreaming about getting recruited to go play at a major school. I imagine you did, though, knowing that was going to be a step apart of the journey. I know that getting recruited is a lot of fun. You get to go cool places, meet cool people, and obviously just feeling wanted is rewarding. I also know it can be stressful. It's not always easy. You got to make some tough decisions at a young age. What was that process like for you?
For me, it was. I think overall it was pretty good. It was interesting for me because it started my freshman year. It was pretty fast paced my freshman year, and it slowed down my sophomore year, and it picked up in a big way my junior year. So I think just being able to navigate that with my dad, who knows a lot about that stuff. So getting to talk to everybody, and the relationships you build with the coaches are really nice too. Of course, you can only go to one school, but I think the best part about the recruiting process is just meeting all these people. And then I guess the worst part is just having to say no to people you like and schools you like.
I'm curious, who's a relationship or who is someone with whom you developed a relationship not associated with Vanderbilt? So maybe a school that you ended up having to say no to, but you'd like for that relationship to maintain over the years, and just someone who you really appreciated whatever communication you had with them.
The first one, about three of them. The first one was Coach Ernie from Mississippi State. I had a good relationship with him from my sophomore year, and he also recruited Schneider also, so I knew him back then too. And Coach Myatt from Minnesota, I talked to him a lot my junior year, and I talked to him almost every day. And Coach Topper from Memphis are the three coaches that I talked to a lot that I still have a relationship with.
Vanderbilt's led by Jerry Stackhouse. He had an outstanding college career in North Carolina and a great NBA career. What's it about Stack that that really spoke to you and led you to want to go and play for him?
I would just say him being down to earth and a really good guy off the court also, and also his track record of developing guards like me, Darius Garland and Saban Lee and Scottie Pippen Jr. So they have a long track record of developing guards, and all their players get better year in and year out as they go through that program.
He used to. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No.
And they also play in the SEC, which is a really competitive conference.
Yeah. Jerry, definitely when he played for the Mavericks, and I think even for a few years after, he lived in Dallas and lived across the street from my grandmother, who like once a month would go and just drop off cupcakes at his front door. So there's no way he would remember that. But my grandmother, when she was alive, Jerry Stackhouse was her favorite player, just because she would see him roaming the streets in the neighborhood. But I know people who have gotten a chance to play with him, and actually people who've coached him, and they speak so highly of who he is as a person, which I know is always super important. All right, some fun ones to end this. Either or, okay? You can pick one or the other. Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Chicken nuggets or chicken fingers?
Chicken nuggets.
Barbecue or ranch?
Barbecue.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
All right, 2K or Madden?
I think this changes year to year, but this year definitely Madden. 22 is Madden's better.
Okay, if you have to get rid of one of these functions: copy and paste or the undo button. You can only keep one of them. Which one do you get rid of?
Definitely undo.
Okay.
For sure.
Thin crust or thick crust?
Thick.
Celebrity crush?
Zendaya.
You and Lee, are you guys gonna have to fight over Zendaya?
I have no idea.
Who's got the inside track?
What do you mean by that?
I like who do you think's got a better shot at Zendaya, you or Lee?
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could see anyone in concert, who would you see?
Drake.
Okay. You can sit down with any person, Kevin Durant, Jerry Stackhouse, Trey, anyone, and you can ask them any question and they have to answer it honestly. What is something you'd like to ask to a particular person?
That's a good question. I guess I'll probably ask a question to I guess I'll ask a question to Steph Curry and ask him about what makes him such an elite shooter and how he's so consistent. I think that's what I would ask him.
Noah, I appreciate you taking time. It's been really fun following what you've been able to accomplish. And I know so many people in the Greenhill community are excited to follow the rest of this year and what's to come for you and Lee as you guys go to Vanderbilt and hopefully journey well beyond that in your basketball careers. But I appreciate you taking some time.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.